I never planned on keeping secrets from my dad, but sometimes silence is safer than honesty. My name's Ryan. I'm 35, and until recently, my parents thought I was still working at a mid-level IT job barely scraping by. In reality, I was pulling in close to 700 grand a year from a software firm I co-founded 3 years ago. Not because I'm a genius, but because I got lucky. Right place, right algorithm. And yet, every time I looked at my dad across the dinner table, bragging about how he taught me everything I know, I just nodded and let him keep thinking I was the struggling kid who still needed his advice on how to get ahead. It's not that I didn't trust him. I just knew him too well. My dad, Michael, was the kind of man who could turn any good thing into his own victory lap. When I was 14, I won a coding competition at school. He told everyone he'd set me up for success because he once bought me a computer for Christmas. When I graduated top of my class, he said it was because of his strict discipline. And when I got my first real job, he showed up to my office uninvited just to see where his investment went. So, yeah, I learned early to keep things quiet. Money especially. My parents had this talent for making guilt sound like love. We're family, my mom would say. We share everything. Which was code for, whatever's yours is also ours. I kept the truth about my income under wraps for years. My wife, Anna, knew. My accountant knew. But my parents? Not a chance. Until my daughter, Emily, spilled it. It happened at their 40th anniversary dinner, a fancy restaurant my parents picked because family should celebrate in style. I offered to pay, of course. It was a small thing, and honestly, I wanted to do it. My parents had raised me. Despite everything, I still loved them. I'd already given my credit card to the waiter discreetly, so the bill would come to me at the end without the awkward back and forth. I thought I had everything under control. The dinner started out fine. My dad told the same 3 stories he always did. How he once saved his boss from firing him, how my mom was the prettiest girl at the dance, and how Ryan always looked up to me. My mom laughed in that tight, polite way that said she'd heard them all too many times. Anna squeezed my hand under the table. Emily, who's 12 and loves to talk, was chatting about her art club at school, and somehow, the topic shifted to her dream room. She said, "Grandpa, Dad said if I get straight A's, he'll buy me a MacBook for school." My dad's eyes widened. "A MacBook, huh? Those are expensive." I smiled. "Yeah, well, she earned it." My mom raised an eyebrow. "You can afford that now?" I shrugged. "We've been doing okay." And that's when Emily, bless her heart, dropped the bomb. "Dad makes like $700,000 a year, Grandma. He said it's because of his company thing." The table went silent. My dad's fork froze midair. My mom blinked slowly, then smiled like someone who just spotted gold on the sidewalk. 700,000, she repeated, in that high, soft tone that means her brain's spinning. I tried to play it off. She's exaggerating. It's complicated. But it was too late. I could see the numbers already dancing in their heads. My dad leaned back, stroking his chin. Well, I always said you'd make it big. That's how it started. Friendly, proud, almost supportive. But the thing about my dad is, pride curdles fast when there's money involved. By dessert, he was talking about emergencies, about how family helps family, about the unfair tax system, and how we should all stick together financially. Every word wrapped in sentiment, but dripping with calculation. Then the bill came. I'd already paid in advance. Or so I thought. The waiter approached me quietly and said, "Sir, your card didn't go through." My dad's eyes lit up like he'd been waiting for that moment. "Need me to cover it, son?" he asked, loud enough for the next table to hear. I frowned. That's weird. It should have worked. I pulled out my phone to check. My banking app wouldn't load. Service was spotty inside the restaurant. "No worries," he said, all faux concern. "It happens. I'll just handle this one, and you can sort me out later." He smiled as he said it, but there was something in his tone, a little too eager, a little too smug. I knew what was coming, the favor that always turns into a demand. When we got back to the parking lot, he pulled me aside. "Listen," he said quietly, glancing over his shoulder like he was sharing state secrets. "I had to make a payment earlier today. Nothing big, just an emergency thing for the house. I used your joint account. You know, the one we set up years ago for family expenses." My stomach dropped. I'd forgotten that account even existed. I'd opened it a decade ago when I was still helping them pay off some debts. I thought it had a few hundred left in it, maybe 1,000. He kept talking. Don't worry, I'll pay you back next week. It was just one emergency payment. Something in me twisted. How much, Dad? He looked away. Not much. Just some house repairs. And your mother wanted to handle a few things. You'll see it on your statement. I didn't press further. Not there, not in the parking lot with Anna and Emily waiting by the car. I just nodded, told him good night, and drove home in silence. Anna watched me, concerned. What's wrong? Nothing, I said, though my chest was tightening. Just tired. But when we got home, I went straight to my office and opened my laptop. The bank finally loaded. My stomach turned cold. The balance was almost zero. $712,349 gone. For a long time, I just sat there staring. I refreshed the page twice, thinking it had to be a glitch. But no, it was all gone. The withdrawals were in chunks, spread out over the last 48 hours, all marked authorized. I scrolled through the details, my hands shaking. Every transfer went to the same recipient, my parents' joint account. Anna came in quietly, reading my face before she spoke. Ryan? I couldn't even get the words out. They drained it. Her jaw clenched. You mean your parents? I nodded. The next morning, if you could call it that, I didn't sleep. I just sat on the couch watching the sky lighten through the blinds. At exactly 6:41 a.m., their phones started ringing. I didn't even have to call. The system did it automatically. Every one of the 72 transactions triggered an alert. And now, things were about to get loud. I watched the sun rise through the blinds like it was mocking me. Every streak of gold on the wall felt wrong, too calm for what had just happened. My account wasn't just drained. It was gutted, stripped bare by the two people who taught me to always trust family. The alert system I'd set up months ago started pinging their phones one after another. It wasn't part of any revenge plan. I'd built it for security. Automatic fraud alerts that triggered both an email and a phone call whenever money moved above $10,000. Apparently, 72 separate, authorized transfers qualified. At 6:41 a.m., their phones started going off like alarms in a fire drill. One call after another, each one notifying them that an outgoing transfer from account ending and has been completed. 72 in total. Anna came out of the bedroom, hair messy, still in her robe. Ryan, what's that sound? I didn't look away from the screen. That would be the sound of my parents getting notified that I know. Her eyes widened. Oh God, you're sure it was them? Every single transaction went to their joint account. Every single one. I clicked through the timestamps, jaw clenched. The first transfer was at 3:09 p.m., right before dinner. The last one was around midnight. They'd been doing it while sitting across from me, eating dessert and pretending everything was fine. Anna sank onto the couch. You have to call the bank. I did. Fraud department opens at 8. I rubbed my face. They'll freeze what's left, but it's too late. The money's already cleared into their account. She hesitated. Ryan, you don't think. I know exactly what happened. I turned the laptop toward her, showing the message history. 2-factor confirmations. They had access through the old joint login. I never deactivated it after they stopped needing help. They must have saved the credentials. She looked furious and heartbroken at the same time. Your dad said it was just one emergency payment. Yeah, I said quietly. One emergency payment, 72 times. That's when my phone lit up, Dad. I let it ring. Then Mom. Then both, alternating like some twisted duet. I finally answered on the 4th try. Morning, I said, voice flat. My dad's voice came through, shaky but defensive. Ryan, before you say anything. Too late, I interrupted. You emptied my account. We didn't empty it, he said quickly. We just borrowed some. We needed to make a few payments and some. I snapped. $712,000 isn't some. He sighed, like I was the unreasonable one. You don't understand. The house, your mother's medical stuff, the anniversary trip, things add up. We were going to pay you back once the refinance went through. Refinance? I repeated, incredulous. Dad, you live in the same house you've had for 20 years. What refinance? He hesitated, then lowered his voice. Ryan, you make more in a year than your mother and I did in our entire lives. You'll recover. We just needed help. I closed my eyes, pressing my thumb into the bridge of my nose. You stole from me. My mom's voice chimed in from the background, too loud and too cheerful. Oh, stop it, Ryan. You're making this sound ugly. We're still family, right? Still family. Those words hit like a slap. Family doesn't do this, I said quietly. Family shares, she corrected. You've been blessed. And we've supported you your whole life. We just thought that you were entitled to everything I built. Silence. Then my dad spoke again, that patronizing calm creeping back into his tone. Son, you're overreacting. We only took what we needed. You're successful now. Don't let greed ruin your relationship with your parents. Greed. The irony almost made me laugh. Anna was watching me from the couch, whispering, "Hang up, Ryan." But I didn't. Not yet. I needed to hear it all. "So," I said finally, "you decided to reward yourselves for raising me." "You're welcome," my mom said sweetly. That was it. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just hung up. They called again, then texted, then started sending voice messages, each one more desperate than the last. "We'll fix it. We didn't mean to upset you. It was just money. You'll understand one day when Emily helps you out." That one hurt the most, because deep down, that was the core of it. They didn't see what they'd done as theft. They saw it as an unspoken rule being fulfilled. Parents take, children provide. By 9 a.m., I'd already been on the phone with the bank for 2 hours. The fraud team flagged the transactions, but because the transfers were authorized, it would take time. Maybe weeks, maybe months. And recovery wasn't guaranteed. Still, something in me had shifted. The anger was sharp, yes, but under it was something colder. Focused. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to teach them what family sharing really meant. When the bank call ended, I sat back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. Anna came up behind me, wrapping her arms around my shoulders. "What are you thinking?" she whispered. I turned to her slowly. "That they made a mistake," I said. "They thought taking from me meant I'd forgive them because of blood. But they forgot where that blood runs." She looked wary. "Ryan," I smiled faintly. "I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm just going to make them understand." Understand what? That money isn't the only thing they can lose. The rest of that day was quiet. Too quiet. My parents didn't call again until the afternoon, and this time it was my mom's number. I ignored it. By evening, a message popped up from an unknown contact, a realtor. "Hi Ryan. Just confirming that the property transfer for Michael and Karen is being finalized this week. Please confirm your portion as co-signer." I stared at it. My portion. Co-signer. Then it hit me. They were using my name, my credit, to transfer the title of their house. The refinance wasn't a lie. It was worse. They were selling the home, and they were using my identity to do it. I must have read that message a dozen times before it truly sank in. The realtor's words didn't even sound real, like some kind of bureaucratic hallucination. "Please confirm your portion as co-signer." My portion? Co-signer? I hadn't signed anything since helping them with a minor refinance years ago, long before I ever made real money. That account was closed. The house was theirs. It was supposed to be untouchable, but if they still had my information from back then. I took a slow breath, then opened my old email archives. I typed "mortgage" into the search bar. Hundreds of messages appeared, but one thread caught my eye, from 7 years ago, when I'd helped them qualify for a low-interest home equity line. I'd been 28 and naive, still thinking helping family was a virtue. I'd scanned my ID, pay stubs, and tax forms and sent them directly to my mom's email. The thought made my stomach twist. I called the realtor immediately. "Hi," I said, trying to sound calm. "I got your message about Michael and Karen. Could you tell me exactly what documents you're referring to?" The woman on the other end hesitated. "Of course. We're finalizing the sale of their property on Westbrook Avenue. Mr. and Mrs. Collins provided your signature as a co-signer for title clearance. Is that not correct?" My pulse spiked. "No, it's not." "Oh," she said, her tone instantly nervous. "I see. Then we may need to verify some things. Could you confirm your birth date and—" I cut her off. "Don't process anything else. Not one document. You're about to commit fraud, and I suggest you stop now before it gets ugly." She stammered an apology and promised to escalate it to her legal department. I thanked her, hung up, and sat there, staring at nothing. My fingers were trembling. Anna came in with 2 mugs of coffee, setting one beside me. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "They're selling the house," I said, "and they used my name to do it." She froze mid-step. "They forged your signature?" "Most likely. They've got copies of my old ID, my social security number, everything. From years ago." Anna sat down beside me. "Ryan, you have to call the police." "I will," I said quietly. "But not yet. She frowned. Not yet? What are you waiting for? I looked at her and said the words I hadn't said out loud until that moment. I want them to see it coming. The rest of the day felt like walking through fog. I called my lawyer, explained the situation, and forwarded every detail: the fake cosign, the stolen funds, the shared account. He told me to document everything. Then, almost as an afterthought, he asked, "Do you want to press criminal charges?" "Not yet," I said again. "But I want them legally cornered." He sighed. "Then don't warn them until you're ready. Let them sign themselves into the mess." I hung up, exhaled, and turned to Anna. "We're freezing the accounts. All of them. Even Emily's college fund." She nodded. "Already did." We spent hours sorting through paperwork, closing old logins, changing passwords, transferring what little was left to a new bank. Every click felt like reclaiming a piece of my sanity. Then, around 5 p.m., my mom texted me. "We're stopping by in an hour. Don't be dramatic, we just want to talk." Anna looked over my shoulder. "You're not letting them in, right?" "Oh, I'm letting them in," I said. "I just won't be giving them what they think they're coming for." When the doorbell rang, it wasn't anger I felt. It was something calmer, sharper, like the moment before a blade hits the whetstone. My dad stepped in first, dressed too neatly for someone who'd accidentally stolen a fortune. My mom followed close behind, carrying that brittle smile she always used when she knew she'd crossed a line but refused to admit it. "Son," my dad began, tone syrupy. "We just wanted to clear the air." I gestured to the couch. "Go ahead." They sat. My mom immediately went on the defensive. "You're making this into a bigger deal than it is. We needed help. That's all." "Help?" I repeated. "You drained my account and forged my name on a property transfer." Her smile flickered. "Now, don't use words like forged. We didn't forge anything. We just reused what we already had. It's not like we were strangers." My dad folded his arms. "You're blowing this out of proportion. You've been doing well, Ryan. You said yourself you wanted to take care of us." "I said I'd help," I corrected. "Not bankroll your lives or bail you out of whatever you've gotten yourselves into." He scoffed. "You've changed." "No," I said quietly. "You just never noticed who I was becoming." Silence. My mom shifted uncomfortably. "So what happens now?" I looked her dead in the eye. "Now? Nothing. You keep your house. You keep your emergency payment. You even keep pretending you didn't do anything wrong." Relief flashed across her face. Too soon. "But," I continued, "by tomorrow, the bank will contact you. They'll freeze your assets until they verify the origin of the $712,000. The title company already knows about the forged documents. And if you try to move a single cent, you'll trigger an audit that'll make your last tax season look like a picnic." My dad's mouth fell open. You reported us?" "I didn't have to," I said. "Your own actions did that for you." He stood up, voice rising. "You can't do this to your own parents." I leaned back in my chair. "You did this to yourselves." He glared down at me, face red, veins standing out on his neck. "You destroy your family over money?" That word again. Family. Like it was a weapon. I smiled faintly. "No, Dad. I'm destroying the illusion that this was ever a family." My mom's voice cracked. "Ryan, please. You're angry. We can fix this. We'll pay you back." "With what?" I asked. "You already tried to sell your house under my name." The room went dead silent. My dad looked at her sharply. "You what?" She froze. The color drained from her face. It was just supposed to be temporary, Michael. Until we." He turned on her, furious. "You told me the refinance was cleared, that it was just paperwork." I stood slowly, letting them unravel right there in front of me. It was almost surreal, the two of them turning on each other for the first time in my life. Anna appeared in the hallway, arms crossed. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. My mom was crying now. My dad was pacing. The perfect couple, unraveling in their designer clothes, their borrowed dignity slipping like loose thread. I could have kicked them out then. I could have screamed or called the cops right there. But something in me wanted them to stew, to sit in the reality they'd built. So I just said, "You should go? I'll let the investigators handle the rest." My dad's eyes went cold. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, "but I'll still have my integrity." They left. The door clicked shut behind them. For a long time, I didn't move. Just listened to the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the faint ticking of the kitchen clock. Anna came up behind me, resting her hand on my shoulder. "You think they'll actually stop?" I shook my head. "No. They'll try something else. They always do. And I was right. Because at 11:47 p.m., just as I was finally starting to drift off to sleep, my phone lit up with a new notification. Alert: $10,000 wire transfer pending approval. Recipient: Emily Collins. I sat up, heart pounding. They weren't done. They were going after my daughter's account now. And that was the line. I sat there in the dark, the glow of my phone burning through my half-closed eyes. Emily's name on that alert hit me harder than any of the money they stole. My parents had crossed every line already. But this was unforgivable. I opened the banking app and canceled the transfer before it went through. Then I called the bank's emergency fraud department directly. The rep, a tired-sounding man named Eric, confirmed what I already suspected. Someone tried initiating a wire from your daughter's custodial account using your joint identity credentials, he said. They still had access? I asked. Looks like it. We're freezing all linked profiles effective immediately. You'll get an incident report in a few hours. Do it, I said, and flag every account with my parents' names attached. It was 12:03 a.m. when I hung up. I turned to Anna, who was now wide awake beside me, her hand clutching the blanket like she could strangle the air out of it. They tried to take from Emily, I said. My voice didn't even sound like my own anymore. It was lower, steadier. Anna sat up. That's it, Ryan. Enough talking, enough chances. Call the police. Now. I nodded. The next morning, I filed the report. Every transaction, every forged document, every email, handed over to the Financial Crimes Division. The officer who took my statement, a middle-aged man named Ruiz, flipped through the file and whistled under his breath. This is thorough. And they're your parents? Were, I corrected. He looked up, sympathy softening his expression. We'll handle it. You might want to prepare for how messy this will get. I already knew. By noon, the bank had frozen their accounts. The title company voided the pending sale. The fraud report triggered an investigation that connected the forged signatures, unauthorized access, and multiple transfers to my parents' IP address. Everything they'd touched, every digital fingerprint, traced straight back to their home. By 3 p.m., their phones must have started ringing again. This time, it wasn't from my alert system. It was from the police. Anna and I didn't talk much that afternoon. Emily was at school, blissfully unaware. I'd already told Anna I'd handle it alone. She didn't argue. Around 6, my dad showed up at my door again. No knock, no text, just pounding. Heavy, impatient, angry. I opened the door, but didn't step aside. He looked like he hadn't slept. His face red, tie crooked, eyes wild. What did you do? He barked. I protected my family, I said. You ruined ours. He jabbed a finger in my chest. They froze our accounts. The mortgage, the savings, even our pensions. Do you have any idea what you've done? I stared him down. I made sure you'll never touch what isn't yours again. My mom was in the car behind him, crying into her hands. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of everything she'd justified had finally turned against her. My dad's voice dropped. We could go to prison. You could, I said. That's what happens when you steal $700,000 and forge legal documents. He looked like he wanted to lunge at me, but something stopped him. Maybe the quiet way I stood there, maybe the fact that the neighbor's porch lights were on. You're my son, he hissed. I shook my head. Not anymore. For a second, I thought he might cry. But no, his pride wouldn't allow that. He just stepped back, hands shaking, and muttered, You'll regret this, before storming off. I closed the door and locked it. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat on the porch with a mug of cold coffee and watched the streetlights flicker. Every few minutes, a car would pass, headlights cutting through the dark, and I'd think about everything that led here. Every dinner where I'd smiled through manipulation, every favor disguised as family bonding. Every time I'd let guilt keep me quiet. 2 days later, Officer Ruiz called. We've completed the initial investigation, he said. They'll be charged with fraud, identity theft, and unauthorized access to protected financial systems. I assume you'll want to press charges? I hesitated for a long moment. Part of me wanted to say no, to let it die there, let them live with the wreckage they created. But then I thought about Emily's account, about how close they came to taking from her too. Yes, I said finally. I'll press charges. He exhaled. Understood. We'll handle the rest. The following week was a blur. My parents' house went under investigation. The neighbors whispered, The local paper printed a short piece about an ongoing financial misconduct case involving a retired couple. I didn't need to see their faces to know how humiliated they must have felt. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. But I didn't visit, either. When the trial began, I didn't even sit in the front row. I sat in the back corner, quiet, watching them take their seats at the defense table. My mom wouldn't look at me. My dad did. Once, and for a brief second, I saw something behind his glare. Not anger, not guilt, just emptiness, like he'd finally realized what he'd destroyed. The judge was patient but firm. The evidence was undeniable. They pled guilty to avoid a longer sentence. My dad got 3 years. My mom got 2, plus restitution. When the verdict was read, I didn't feel triumph. Just a strange, heavy calm. Months passed. I rebuilt what I could. The money trickled back slowly through insurance and recovery, but it wasn't about that anymore. It was about peace, the kind that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. One evening, almost a year later, I was sitting on the back deck with Anna and Emily. The air was warm, the sky orange and fading into pink. Emily was drawing something in her sketchbook, a picture of our family. Just the 3 of us. She held it up proudly. "Do you like it, Dad?" I smiled. "I love it." Anna reached over and squeezed my hand. "You did the right thing," she whispered. "I know," I said quietly. "It just took me 35 years to learn what family really means." I never saw my parents again after their sentencing. But sometimes, when I check my accounts or sit down for dinner, I still think about that night at the restaurant, about my dad's whisper. It was just one emergency payment. He was wrong. That payment wasn't an emergency. It was a test. And for once in my life, I didn't fail it.